Hello and welcome to the Work for Change podcast. It's your boy Jean, spelled like Jean.
And it's your boy John with the silent H.
And it's your girl, Sam.
Spelled S-A-M. It's very important that you know how it's spelled. Welcome to episode number 62.
No.
61.
61.
It should be 62.
Yeah,
But we took a break.
Yeah, we took a break.
We're back.
We enjoyed the holidays.
So Happy New Year.
But
Happy New Year.
I don't have a headset on right now. None of us do. But your voice seems super smooth. What's going on here?
Oh, well, we used some of the money from the shirts that we made and the hoodies to get a new microphone finally. So now hopefully it'll sound a little bit better for you guys. So we're really excited about that. What I am excited about is that the year is finally getting back to normal, because I absolutely
We know you like routine. Before we
Grandpa.
get into routine, if you haven't started following us on Instagram, we are at Work for Change Podcast. Give us a follow. Do the hashtag Work for Change Podcast. That way we see and like and comment, and we get the community going. And we still have shirts available online. So go to beastworks.co to get some of those shirts. They're still available and working on new designs. Okay, now
you don't want me to raw dog it?
I didn't want to go right into it. I just wanted to get a little bit of
Promotion.
Not even promotion, but just like, hey, this podcast is starting. We're getting into it now.
But I'm just like, I cannot stand the time between like Christmas, even leading up to Christmas, right? Like the few days before Christmas, and then the New Year's comes around. Everything is just weird. Like we were talking about, we all have plans tomorrow, and I was like, "Oh, are you excited for tomorrow?" And Sam was like, "Well, what? Tomorrow's Wednesday." Everything is just weird.
For everyone listening, is true. But
Yeah,
we're
but-
recording. This is Friday. today.
Yeah, this is Friday right now.
She
And
thought it was.
True.
She thought it was Tuesday.
yeah, and so it's just like it's so nice to finally, hopefully, be getting back into routine. Even though, I mean, I've been kind of on my routine, but you guys have been home more, and it's been weird for me. I'm like, man, what are they doing here?
I like routine too, but man, I love the time before Christmas and the time after, and then like a couple days after because it's my birthday. But we'll get to that.
I hate this week. I hate it because it's like you try to get stuff done and people, they're like, oh, sorry, it's, out of office, out of town, out of this, out of that. At the office at work, over half of the staff is gone. So it just kind of feels like this like no man's land where it's like we all got a week off at work, at my work. We all got a whole week off. And so to come back and they're still gone, it's just like, oh my gosh, it just feels like weeks have gone by. Months, years have gone by without any real productivity happening. I was hustling and grinding and 24/7, 365 grind, but everyone else wasn't. And so anyway, you're glad the routine is coming back?
Yeah, it's just like, it's nice to get back into the swing of things, and like, I don't know.
So for some context, no matter what happens, no matter what, it could be a vacation to Hawaii. We know that John was going to come home and say, man, it's so glad to be back in routine.
I knew you were going to attack me.
I'm just saying, you brought it up.
I am a creature of habit. And so I like when things are back to normal, because I just get so stressed out. And I don't know if anyone else is like that. Like, I feel like I am more of a routine person than like most people are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I really, right? And I don't know what that is. And
It's
like,
because you're 75.
it really is true.
Yeah, I know.
I eat oatmeal every morning.
Yeah.
I have to take a nap. No, I actually take naps every day. But yeah, I think that's part of it. I don't know. Like I always think to myself, and this is getting a little bit deeper, but like, I guess like I get a little bit stressed out. I'm like, are the things that I'm doing healthy? You know what I mean? Like, is the way, as much as I like routine, is that a healthy habit, or is that an obsessive thing that is turning unhealthy?
You've gotten better.
Do you think so?
Yeah, because like I would say like even a year ago, maybe like back in 2019. No, I'm just kidding. But like a year ago, you'd be like, no, I have to get my routine, and you'd be like kind of down about it if something was out. And now I feel like you enjoy the moment, but now are excited to get back into routine a little bit more.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think you're getting better. I think just all things are pendulums,
Yeah.
and that at least from the beginning, like bungee jumping, you jump, and then it's like that's when you get the lowest, but then it flings you back up the highest, and then eventually you get to this point of like, okay,
Equilibrium.
It's
Yeah, this is where-
2020, but we still have your metaphors.
Yeah. What? I was hoping that would get left in the last year.
yeah, no, they're the metaphor factory, the analogy factory is just starting, guys.
Okay.
Don't worry.
Okay, great. Also, something that I think is interesting that is kind of behind the scenes things, but we have an official manager.
Yes, I heard.
Of
Well,
the
what we did is
podcast.
we had a acquisitions coordinator
Yep.
who did not a lot of acquisitions, but a good amount.
Good amount, okay?
Our acquisitions coordinator has been promoted to podcast manager.
I'm really kind of bummed about it because I don't really like the person that much at all.
That person is Sam.
Oh, thank you. I've been promoted in the new year.
Yeah, we're doubling your pay.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So it went from 0 to 0.
Yeah.
Now you're
Double
welcome.
zero. Ooh.
Yeah. But basically Sam forced us to have a work for change meeting.
The first ever Work for Change meeting.
Yeah, where we talked about goals, whatever those are, plans, whatever that is. Apparently, Sam says that it's cool that we just like to sit and talk in our living room for about an hour and then send it out there, but we could be doing more.
Basically, I said people still like listening to you guys, and I don't understand it. So let's do it well.
Honestly, I'm always like, man, people actually like so at the end of the year, Spotify always does the wrap up, right? And I think this year was the first time they did podcasts, or maybe it was the first time I noticed it because we have a podcast.
No, I think it's because podcasts are new on Spotify. That's why.
Oh, okay. So this time we got tagged in a lot of like number one like people's favorite podcasts, and to me that just blows my mind because in my head. And this is just something I struggle with in general with everything is imposter syndrome and feeling like I'm not good enough, right? So like with the podcast, I'm like, okay, in my head, I'm like, the only people that listen to this podcast are people that listen to other podcasts, and then they just happen to listen to this one too. It's like they have other podcasts that are their favorite, and they also deal with us. Like that's what I feel, But a lot of people, it was like, we were your most listened to podcast. That blows my mind because this podcast, we even have it on the Instagram bio, right? It's supposedly about fitness. Me and my brother, we don't sit here and act like we are experts in everything, right? We're just people that like to work out and talk about life. And so there are all these fitness podcasts of people that are very renowned and very smart and all that stuff. And so I'm always kind of comparing myself to that. And so it's just cool that people seem to resonate with, I like fitness, but I'm also a normal person, and I'm not trying to be an elite athlete or anything like that,
Yeah.
So it is pretty cool.
Yeah, I always I get into random guilty spouts because I am a co-host of a podcast about fitness, supposedly. And then I'll just go 3 days without any fitness.
Yeah, I was going to say, how has that been?
Well, I haven't worked out one day this year.
I haven't worked out one day this year either.
It's my
and
fault?
I don't think it's my fault.
Yeah.
So we all live together, and there's kind of a routine, right?
Yes.
You guys wake up much earlier than me because you go to sleep earlier than me, normally, right? And so normally you guys are at the 6:30 class, and I
Correct.
usually don't wake up until about 6:30.
Yeah.
So normally the reason I'm saying this is because we have one shower. And normally I wake up and I'm able to go straight into the shower. When you guys don't go to the gym, I wake up and I can hear people in the shower.
I can hear him breathing behind the door wanting to come in.
Well, because I have a routine, right? And so these past few days, they have been in the shower because they haven't been at the gym. So today, and I knew Jean would know. Like I could tell that you expected me to say something because I was sitting downstairs and he comes downstairs and I said, "So no workout today?" And John was just, "I didn't want to."
Yeah. Well, and like I know my body, and I know that I go through times where I don't want to work out, and it's never long. It's like 3 days max, 4 days maybe. So even on a week like that, I'm still getting 3 to 4 workouts in a week, which is most people's goal, you know, like, and so like I don't feel guilty at all about it. But I just know that every once in a while I'm like, okay, it's time for me to take a couple days off.
Why have you been taking days off this week?
Because it's so cold in the morning. We like to cuddle.
No.
He said no. Why?
I mean, that's a nice.
That is
That's
nice.
a nice lie.
That's the truth.
It's a nice lie.
No, that's a nice like repercussion of it, I guess. But just like this morning, it was
like I'm not trying to shame you. I'm just genuinely curious.
I feel shamed and attacked and triggered. But like this morning, it was legitimately like I don't feel like rushing. Because like in order to get everything done in the morning that I want to get done before work, that's a rush. I'm always pushing you in the morning. Like, let's do this, let's do this, let's go. So it's like from the moment we wake up to getting ready to getting to the gym, or making the coffee, you know, all that stuff, getting to the gym, making sure I'm warm enough to do the workout. The workout today had like a 12-minute EMOM in it where you're going to have to hustle throughout the entire thing. Like, it was just like thinking about the entire morning full of rush. I was like, I don't want to do that this morning. And so I didn't. And I don't feel guilty about it.
Well, usually, like, if I go...
I don't feel guilty about it.
I don't.
If I go more than 2 days in a row without working out, I start to get anxiety. I don't know why. I just feel like that. But so on New Year's Day, 2020, we wake up. We are out, you know, midnight. And so we planned already not to work out. We'll work out the next day. And then the next day came around. It was my first day back at work. And I'm like, nah, you know, I'm tired. And then Friday, I was so mad at Jean because he was like, let's not go. And I was like, you're just making this sound tempting. I'm not going to either. But I'm excited to work out tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow will be good. I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Back on the grind.
Back on the grind 24/7, baby.
Yeah. So I was today at a coffee shop. I tweeted this and then deleted it because I thought it just kind of sounded judgmental. But today I was at a coffee shop and I spent 3 hours, 4 hours.
Is that where you were today?
Yeah.
I was wondering where you were.
Yeah. So I spent about 3 hours just working on some stuff I had to get done for weekend services.
he was browsing memes
Yeah.
for 3 hours.
Very important.
Professionally.
I got to make sure that I'm on top of the trends. And so I was just I was editing the announcement video. And so I was there and there's this person next to me the entire time. And for about 30 minutes, he's by himself and someone comes up to him. And for the rest of the time, they are talking about, nah, man, you got to do the acquisitions and you got to make money. And this company I work for, they just don't respect the grind. They don't respect the hustle. They're content being like a $50,000 blah, 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 when I believe I can bring them to $5 million. And the other guy, yeah, you know, our company, they're okay with steadily rising. They don't want it. They're not aggressive. And they're just talking about the hustle and making money and this and the grind and this and that. And the entire time they talked about the necessity, how people don't respect the hustle and they don't respect the grind. And like they spent 3 hours at a coffee shop doing absolutely nothing on a Friday afternoon. Like Friday, not even afternoon, morning, like 9 to 12, you know, like, and so I was, you know, I kind of was like, hey, I tweeted like, I spent 3 hours quietly working while these guys next to me loudly talked about how much they hustle and grind and got zero work done. And then I deleted it because it's judgmental, because what if they work 12 hours at night every night or what? I don't know their story, but it was just like, it was just so like annoying because I have to hear it right next to me, just about literally they're just talking about how everyone else at their work is incompetent, how no one respects the grind, how no one respects the hustle, how the people above them are stifling their growth. And it was just very interesting. And that's what I was doing today. And that was, hustle is not my word for 2020. I'll tell you that for sure.
Do you have a word for 2020?
I do have a word for 2020.
What's your word?
So if you guys are wondering what we're talking about, last year we talked about it on the first podcast of the year. Sam really enjoys words of the year. You want to kind of go deeper into that?
I mean, it's not really that deep.
It's pretty deep. Dig deep.
Many years ago, about 3 years ago, I said, I am going to dedicate this year to a specific word. And I just kept up doing it. And I really like it. And I think it's great, you know, to have a word for the year and you just focus on your word. You know?
I do know.
Okay.
Um,
Great explanation.
so we were talking with a friend, and I made a whole YouTube video about this like 2 years ago, about what is health and seeking health for the new year. And I focused on 3 things. I said, work on your physical health, work on your mental health, and then work on your spiritual health. And how your mental health is like, what are the people you're surrounding yourself with? What are the things you're thinking of? Your physical health was, how are you moving? What are you doing? And then spiritual health was like serving someone bigger than yourself or something bigger than yourself. Just making yourself not the most important thing out there. So there's an element of that. But so you can do that, or you can boil it down to a single word. So my word for the year is grind. It's not hustle, it's grind. No, it's not.
I was about to be like, are you for real right now?
No, I'm not for real.
Stupid joke.
My word of the year is craftsman. And so I feel like what I do is part of it is the life situation I'm in. So I'm paid to make content at a pretty fast pace. I'm only given a specific hours a week to make a specific amount of content. Sometimes it's 3 videos, 4 videos, social media, graphic design. And so if I can make something fast, even if it's somewhat generic, that is rewarded over making something really good. And so I've kind of allowed myself to get stuck even in my own personal product. Like, I understand work. I have deadlines and I have whatever I have to hit, and I get that. But even in my own personal work, my own Instagram or my own YouTube channel or my own whatever, like, I've allowed, well, this is good enough. It's fine. It meets a deadline. And even like if I had a friend look at the stuff, it's actually kind of embarrassing because it's kind of like, that's not how good I am. Like I'm way better than that. I'm just trying to put stuff out. And so it's like the difference between if you buy a wallet at Target, it's a good wallet. It does what it needs to do. It satisfies the need. It holds money, holds cards. Maybe you want a slim wallet. Maybe you want a thick wallet, a whole bunch of stuff. Target will give you a good wallet. Mm-hmm. And you probably won't have any complaints with it. Or if you go to like a leather craftsman, they're going to put their heart into that wallet. You're not just paying for the wallet, you're paying for the 20 years of experience that they've gained while creating leather goods or wallets or whatever. And so I feel like I have become the target of my craft.
I'd say more Walmart.
Yeah, I would maybe even Walmart. Like I've become the
cent store,
Yeah, like I've become the department. I've settled for the department store of my craft.
Yeah.
When what I want to be creating is the authentic, the artisan, the good quality aspects of my craft. And so for this year, what I want to focus on is creating stuff that is it's embarrassing, not embarrassing. It's nerve-wracking putting out, not because I'm like embarrassed of it, but because that's my heart. And so if I put it out there and people don't like it, it's me. Well, it's effort versus just a facade.
And we've talked about it in the past. I'm not sure if we talked about it on the podcast, but you were saying that a lot of times you don't try because then if you don't try and something's bad and people don't like it, you're like, well, I didn't really try.
Yeah.
But if you do really, really try and it ends up not being as good as maybe you had hoped or people don't like it, then it's like, that's an actual failure, you know?
Yeah.
Because if you don't actually try in your head, then when you fail or if you fail, you're like, nah, I didn't really try that hard.
Yeah.
So
for sure it's a defense. It's a defense mechanism. And then it's like, what's the point of I don't know. I feel like we've talked about it before, but there's like a system. There's a whole infrastructure based on like Instagram, like you're rewarded by posting more. Mm-hmm. People like on YouTube, you're rewarded for posting more. So it's like I feel like we're consuming just a whole bunch of like styrofoam. Here's another analogy. Like it'll fill you up, it'll fill your stomach, but there's absolutely zero nutrients in it. Mm-hmm. And so like I don't want to be a styrofoam creator. I don't want to be a styrofoam promoter. Like I want to do stuff that has depth and that means something to me, and that is going to get unrewarded or it's going to get penalized by the algorithms and stuff, but it's stuff that I'm proud of. And so like I want to make sure that that's kind of where I'm going.
Well, I mean, for you don't even have to worry about the algorithm because you're not putting out anything right now anyways.
On YouTube?
On YouTube.
Hey,
Oh, jab.
we're there was a YouTube meeting as well.
There was a YouTube
between
meeting.
Sam and John. That will not be discussed here because it is
Top secret.
top secret, and you'll just see it. You'll see it when it happens.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I wasn't trying to be mean. I was just saying.
Your
like,
brother
if
was
you're,
being really mean right now.
Yeah. I was more talking about Instagram. I feel like I get in these like ruts or not ruts. I get in these feelings where I need to post once a day, and it's like, why? For who?
Mm-hmm.
You know? And it's like for no one. I don't need to. But I also don't. I don't discredit social media. Like I think social media is one of the most powerful things. Another practice I'm working on is like stopping. Like I'm really trying to stop mindless scrolling. Like I want to enter Instagram with the intent of doing something. Whether that's replying to a DM, whether that's making a post, whether that's whatever, or just looking to see if I have DMs or looking to see if the podcast has anything. Like, what is my intention on opening this app? Because I found myself like the time that I lose mindlessly scrolling is time that I could have set my clothes for tomorrow, could have made a sandwich for the next day, could have whatever. These are very important things to me.
Yeah.
Clothes and sandwiches. But I lose that time. Or it's not even that I lose the time. I just now have to rush everything else because I just spent time scrolling. All right. Those are my word vomits. Next.
No, well, I remember when I know exactly what you mean about, especially with like Instagram, because of how easy it is to post stuff. It's easy to post garbage, you know? And when I first started my Instagram, at first it was like just for fun. I really didn't have anything, but then I started getting followers, and then it's like this. I started getting followers, and then I felt like I needed to post more, you know. And I remember there was a time where I was posting like 3 times a day because I had read an article that said like you should post that much, and so I was like posting 3 times a day, but all the posts were just completely like nothing special, you know, nothing that I would ever post now. And it's not like I'm saying my posts are anything special now, but I would never, if I posted 3 times a day, it was because 3 really cool things happened. You know what I mean? Like there was a reason for it, not just because, oh, it's Tuesday, time to post 3 times. And I think part of that, I will be honest, I think part of that is because now there's stories and before there wasn't. So there's that way of doing things now that you can like share stuff without it being a post. Yeah. Which I really do like stories, even though they completely just like took over Snapchat. And then,
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy how that
Stories
happens.
are more popular than posts.
Oh, without a doubt.
Like more people open their phone and then scroll through stories than they do scroll through posts. Yeah. Anyway.
What about you, Sam? What's your word for 2020?
Okay. So I think it was last year's podcast and I was on it about New Year's resolutions. And I said I love New Year's resolutions. But this episode is not about resolutions, so it's about words. So I love just starting a new year, like with your mind right, you know. So I think finding a word to help you dictate your year is helpful. You put me on the spot earlier, so I had to like explain a little more.
Yeah. Sorry. I just, you know.
You guys, can you stop arguing?
I put you on the spot, but you walked into this podcast knowing exactly what we were going to talk about.
Okay, whatever. So anyway, my word of the year is action. And the word action, because I feel like every year...
She's going to try to be an actress.
Yes. I'm moving up to LA.
I'm leaving Jean. Surprise.
Sad.
Because...
surprise to no one. They're like, well, yep, saw that coming.
A mile away.
So, I feel like every year, maybe even like every month, maybe like every day, I'm always like, I'm going to do this. Oh, I'm going to do that. Oh, but soon I'm going to do this. Once I do this, this is going to happen. And so I'm like, I'm done living like that. My word is action. And I'm going to put action behind all the things I say I want to do or all the things I want to do. And, you know, like there's little things like I want to post to stories more. I feel like I get shy, so I don't.
You do not get shy.
I'm
gets
shy.
Whatever. No
I'm
way.
shy.
Not
You are
shy,
not shy.
is the wrong word.
Whatever.
She gets bashful. She gets
I'm
like
bashful.
she like
Oh my
she's like she judges if her content is good enough to be posted anyway.
Yeah.
You stress about how you look too much.
No, I don't.
Absolutely.
Oh my god.
I think it's a girl. I think it's a girl thing.
Yeah.
I want to understand that. Okay.
Girls like guys look good for girls, and then girls look good for girls. Girls don't care what
And
guys.
Instagram.
Yeah, guys like yeah. That's something I've heard for sure.
Well, anyway, so my word is action. So there's little things, there's big things.
What are some of the things?
Just like what I don't know, like big things I want to do in life. I've got to write them down so I can narrow down a few.
Oh, sorry, my alarm's going off.
Why is your alarm going off?
Jean set an alarm and then he put it on. Why would you not put it on like vibrate?
It's fine.
Unbelievable.
I put an alarm on because we're using 2 cameras, and one of them only films for 30 minutes, so I had to reset it.
Fancy.
Yeah.
All right, so what are some of the things you want to
Okay,
be more
so-
action oriented with?
Like little things about Instagram. I want to post more. Like
Why do you want to post more on Instagram?
I want to post more because I like sharing things, and I feel like I don't a lot, and you guys do, you know. But when I do share things, I feel like I get people who reach out and are like, "Oh my gosh, that really helped me." And then I like about diabetes. And
That's
all
what
that
I was
stuff.
gonna say. I
Yeah.
think that you have quite an interesting story with diabetes. One that it's interesting to people that might not know much about it.
Yeah.
And then 2, it's very relatable to people that have developed maybe type 1 diabetes
Yeah.
throughout.
And there's like a little knit community,
Yeah.
and I feel like we all help each other, you know? And so I want to be like helpful too and just share my experiences. I don't know everything, obviously. So I just want to share more, and I feel like it helps me like mentally sharing, you know, instead of just talking to you guys all the time.
Well, and like this is super random, but like this week there was something that I feel like you could have shared that maybe you didn't. And I don't think it was like you didn't do it on purpose, but it was like what was it? You ran out of something, right? What happened this week?
Test strips. You ran
Test
out of
strips,
test
right?
strips.
Oh, yeah.
And your Dexcom and your Libre expired.
Yeah, so CGMs are a continued glucose monitor, and you wear them, and so you don't have to prick your finger constantly. And so I like
And why do you prick your finger?
to check my blood sugar. And so I constantly have to check my blood sugar because lows are common with type 1 diabetes because you're injecting insulin throughout the day. And you can get low if you're exercising, which I exercise often, except for the last 3 days.
You're welcome.
And things like that.
John's a bad influence on
I
Sam with that
know.
for sure.
Anyway, and so on 6 a.m. on January 1st, my Freestyle Libre, which is considered a CGM, expired. And so I was like, oh, okay. But everything is so expensive, and I get an HSA card at the beginning of the year from my employer. So I'm like, I'm just going to refill everything when I get back to work on Thursday. And so then I go, and she's like, she walks in the door. I haven't seen her all year. And she's like,
Who's she?
my boss. And she is like, I got to refill your HSA card. I got it, you know, because she knows that I have to refill everything. And I had like 3 test strips left, and my CGM expired. And so I was like, okay. And so I called him my prescription, like I think the day before, and it wasn't ready until the next day. And so I was like, oh man, I don't know, I'm not going to last. And so I looked, and the money hit my account. So I was like, oh, well, I ordered a Dexcom from Costco. That's ready already.
Which is another
CGM.
glucose monitor.
Yeah. And so I told Jean, I was like, will you go to Costco with me? I need to pick it up. It's super expensive, but I have the money in my account now. And so we go, and the money didn't hit the account yet, and they said it'll take 24 hours. So I'm like, okay, well, I can't I tried to buy it. Went to Vons, bought a meter, didn't have test strips. I didn't have any way to check my blood sugar, and I used my last test strip, and I'd have to wait like 24 hours again to get anything. And I was like freaking out. And so then the lady at Costco was like, if you buy this on your debit card and come back the next day, I will refund you the money.
And this isn't like a
This is
It's
like
not-
$500.
Yeah, it's not like a small like.
Yeah,
oh, you know.
it's a
Yeah.
substantial amount of money.
And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh my gosh. So I was able to get my prescription. I paid for it and I went back tonight, and she was there and she was able to refund me and I put it on my HSA card.
That whenever I hear about all of that, like it's crazy.
And just all of that is just to live.
Yeah, that's
It's just like a basic function.
Yeah.
Live.
Yeah.
That's the thing that blows me away about diabetes. And we've talked about it when we had the podcast where you kind of talked about everything. Like, it's become such a normal thing, like diabetes, especially type 2, but like people aren't that afraid of it.
Yeah.
And like that, I understand they're different, but like when I was at my heaviest, I was pre-diabetic or like right before pre-diabetic. And I remember thinking to myself like, well, I mean, it's just diabetes, you know? And it's like the living with someone that has to deal with that constantly, like, because we've gotten used to it. Like when you have the glucose thing and like you're able to check it, you're pretty good with it. But you realize how, I mean, I guess how like dependent you are on that. You know what I mean? Like if that thing's gone, it becomes a whole different ball game.
Yeah, and even like pricking your finger is kind of a pain in the butt. So if I had test strips, I'd be like, oh, I can do it. You know, people did it for years before having the fancy stuff. But I didn't even have that, and that prescription wasn't ready. And so I was like, oh my goodness. I can guess, but that's so hard, you know? And it just makes me anxious.
Yeah, I mean, it would make me anxious too. It's
And even like today,
scary.
I went to the pharmacy because my test strips and stuff were ready. So I'm gonna stock up on everything. And then the guy there was like, "Hey Sam," he's like, "I hate charging you so much all the time. I'm there all the time." And the insulin, which you need to survive, was $500, and you need this constantly. And I was like, they were like, "We're not gonna have you pay that. We're gonna try to find a coupon somewhere. Come back." And they were doing research on their own to try to help me. So I was like, that was cool.
And $500 for how long of a supply?
That'd probably last like 3 or 4 months.
Jeez, yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So,
But anyway, so that's just my word action. Other things.
but what he was saying is like that story would have been cool for you to sit on your phone.
See?
and
Yeah, exactly.
say-
Yeah.
See, now I need to start doing that.
Just to be like, you know, and like, don't complain. Like, just
I'm not-
sit
I
there
wouldn't-
for an hour. I'm not saying you would, but like, there's a difference between sitting on there for 15 stories and complaining about it,
Yeah.
and then sitting there for 15 stories and saying like, here's what I had to do. Just think about it.
Well, even when we were at Costco yesterday, it took a lot longer and we had like stuff to do. And I was telling Jean, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I don't want to be like complaining about this. And he was like, you handled that so well, I might cry.
I cry about everything, so
He does cry
it's,
about
not that
everything.
big, it's not that big of it.
But yeah, so thank you. I will share more of those stuff. And I like to hear about it on Instagram too, so I feel like others would.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so that's just like a small thing I want to do action for. And then it's like, I'm going to be 28 in a week. Next week. The day after this podcast comes
Mm-hmm.
out.
Everyone wish Sam a happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
yeah,
Sam.
Thank you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's old. Like, what am I going to do with my life, you know? So that's this year. I'm going to decide. Action. That's my word.
Now, you guys have been thinking about this, I feel like, for a while.
Yes.
And so I've been thinking about it for the past 10 minutes because we started talking about it. And I think
To be
it's-
fair, same thing I said to Sam. You knew what this podcast was going to be about.
we didn't have exact things we were going to talk about.
We
didn't.
said we're going to talk about the word for the year.
We did say that.
That's true, but the thing is I was busy, okay? I was busy getting swole. But I think, and this is something I've talked about quite a bit, but I would say confidence. Because I struggle with it quite a bit in a lot of aspects, but especially like with the stuff that I create and the content that I create. Like I was kind of saying earlier, there are with podcasts, but even with content creators on YouTube, like I am just a guy that lost weight that tries to help other people. I am not a scientist. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not, you know what I mean? And so I always am second guessing myself whenever I am not even giving advice, but sharing my own experiences, because I understand that there are people out there that are quote unquote smarter than I am. And so I think I always undercut myself. And the reason that I'm like, you know what, maybe I am I don't want to say smarter than I give myself credit for, but I definitely struggle with that because of growing up. I was in special ed and stuff, and so I've always just, this sounds terrible, but like I've always in my head, I'm like, I'm stupid. And so like whenever it's anything that's like science or math or stuff like that, I'm like, yeah, don't ask me. I'm stupid. I don't understand that stuff. You know, I'm street smart. That's kind of what I've always said. Mm-hmm. And I still very like, even when I'm talking like this is getting real, but even when I'm talking with someone and they're talking about their school, I start getting anxious about it. I don't know why, but it's like I was so bad in school, like natural, like regular classes, that like I went to college for 1 year. I literally never took a math class or like a legit English class because I was afraid to do it. Because I was like, I'm stupid, I cannot do that. So I took like music classes, history classes, took Spanish, and I ended up like leaving because I just literally got scared, you know? And so confidence has been something that I've struggled with my entire life. And then when it comes to the content that I create, it's still something that I struggle with. But I feel actually, I released a video today. It was a Q&A. And I was, again, kind of stressed out about it because I did answer some stuff that I feel like there's other people online that are going to be able to answer this question better. Like, I'm not the one, right? But I was like, you know what? Whatever. I think I have some good stuff to say. And content on YouTube, Q&As, they usually don't do super well, right? View-wise. And like, even just like how many people are commenting and all that stuff, the engagement isn't that high. But this one, I was blown away by not just the views, because that's always nice, but I mean, let's be real, right? If you put a catchy title and clickbait thumbnail, like, you'll get views regardless, right? But it's not just the amount of views, it's the comments in the comment section of just positive things, you know? And like saying, I totally agree with what you're saying here, yada, yada, yada. And it really kind of makes me feel like I can be somewhat of an authority, or at least not feel so stressed out about sharing my opinion or sharing what I think might be best. So yeah, I think like confidence, and then not just in that, but then in everything, you know, because even going into workouts, when I'm maybe not the most confident with a movement, I'm always undercutting how well maybe I'll do. And then either that results in me not trying very hard, or me really surprising myself and thinking I could have pushed harder and got an even better score, right? Like if it's like there's ring muscle-ups or something like that. So yeah, I think confidence will be my word for 2020.
It's a good word.
I like
Something
it.
we can all use.
Mm-hmm.
You know, more confidence in what we're doing. Have you, Sam, used your word yet?
I don't know. I don't know. Try talking about it and putting it out there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
manifesting it.
You forced us to have a Work for Change meeting.
Yes, I did.
Sure.
I took action.
Mm-hmm.
I emailed the notes to you guys today.
You did? I have not taken action on your notes yet. Oh, actually, I did. I sent out an email.
Good.
So, one email.
Yeah.
I did it.
I was trying to think.
Hustling, grinding.
24/7. I was trying to think of what my word last year was, and I think it was balance. And I was like, it's kind of a dumb word thinking back at it. And I was like, no, I think I've done pretty good last year. Like looking back on the year, because I feel like in the past I'd been like, oh, like I can't eat that. Like I already ate bad, quote unquote, yesterday. You know, but I feel like,
fault.
yeah, probably. But I feel like I've had more balance in that, and I haven't had anxiety around that. And then I feel like in the previous years too, I've been so overwhelmed by everything I've needed to do that I'm like, I can't do it all. And I was like, I need balance. And I think I was able to balance like work and friends and working out and all that stuff. So I'm excited to tackle this year with action.
What about you, Jean? Have you used your word?
I don't think I have been more intentional about trying to take my camera more and like doing photos and stuff like that, and becoming better at like editing, like being proud of my edits. I think like You know how right now I'm in the stage where I'm learning stuff, and then it's like once you learn it, you like go way too far into it. Like I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. Like let's say it's like a new flavor that you like for your water, like flavored water, and you find out that you really like that flavor. So then the first couple times you do it, you do way too much flavor. Like you just pour it in there, and you're like, yeah, I probably should lower it. And eventually you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is the flavor I like with this amount.
Or like how when I find a song, I listen to it constantly.
Yeah, over and over and over and over again.
That's my toxic trait.
Yeah. So I, there are a couple things that I've like looking back on the pictures. I'm like, yeah, I went way I raised the blacks way too much, so they look like grays, and that's not actually that good. But or like some of the work for change photo shoot stuff, the colors I wasn't really happy with. So I'm just like, you gotta fail. You gotta look back and realize what you did wrong to grow. And then I'm on a 2-month membership to Skillshare, where I'm absorbing as much as I can of content. And then I will promptly cancel before it actually charges me. I'm on the trial. So just little things like that. Just trying to. It's also weird. Like I said, I have a job where my job is to put out a specific number of things during a deadline and timeline. But I was asked to do like a brochure for our church. And I've never done that before. I've never created a brochure. Never even used the program InDesign, Adobe InDesign. But because of my experience with Photoshop and Illustrator, it hasn't been the most terrible thing. And it took me, I've spent 10 hours on it plus maybe. And the product that I've created, I'm really proud of. It's not at all done. And I told them at the church, like, hey, this is going to take me longer than it would someone else who does this, because this isn't my forte or my strength. But I'm really, really proud of what I have created. And here's another thing about me that ends up being like a negative.
You cry a lot.
Yeah. No.
Dude, she has burned you so hard.
No, it's that I like to show people my work before it's done to get an opinion while I'm still working on it. So I'm not like going really far down the road and they go, no, I wasn't thinking that, do this, and now I've put all this work into it.
Yeah.
They don't want that where I'm at, where I work, I've realized. So they want me to have a nice polished product, and then they go, okay, let's change it. When I present like half created stuff, they think that's my final product. And I'm like, no. Just, is this the direction? And they're like, I really wish that you would have like put more into that. I'm like, this isn't done. But they've sat down and been like, don't present that. And so like, I want take my hand, and I think it's an insecurity. Like, I'm afraid that what I'm going to create isn't going to be good enough. So let me just show you my unfinished work.
Is that why you showed us?
I showed you guys like what I'm really proud of. It's like a printed out pamphlet and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Burn.
I know. Are you saying that was half created
No.
work?
But it wasn't printed on like the nice paper and stuff.
I know.
You said it still needed refining.
I need to change. I don't know the language that they want to use, so I've just filled in language. But
Okay.
yeah. Were you looking something up?
No, I was just kind of, but not really.
Oh, okay.
Have I used mine? Is that
Yeah.
what you were gonna ask?
Yeah. Well, you look like you were about to say something, so I didn't
Yeah.
want to interrupt. Were you about to answer the question that I didn't ask yet?
What?
I don't know. Keep going. I had 2 shots of espresso right before this.
Yeah, you did.
You chugged it.
I know.
I would say yes, but I mean, confidence is like, it's one of those things that I think you can't, I don't want to fake confidence. I think that you can definitely fake it. Fake it till you make it. John loves that.
Hate it.
And so I think I have in certain things, like with putting out that video and seeing the response that like built up my confidence a little bit. But I think it's going to be one of those things that I just have to be mindful of and try and go into certain situations feeling confident, and feeling like I belong or whatever it might be. And even with like relationships and stuff like that, feeling confident in them, because I struggle with a lot of that stuff, like just feeling confident in certain situations, certain relationships. It's a struggle. So, I don't know. Like, I would say I have, but at the same time, like, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah. Why do you think there is an increased negative perspective on resolutions? Have you guys noticed that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Well, can I just tell you something I saw the other day?
Sure.
It's along the same thing, but it was like, I think it was on New Year's Eve, and I saw multiple people post it, and it was like, all these people changing out here, I won't be able to recognize any of you.
Mm-hmm.
Like saying like, oh, you guys are going to change all of a sudden. And I was like, that's so negative. What if someone really does want to change and they need to change and they're going to work on that? You should support them.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, oh, not going to be able to recognize any of you guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't like that.
I think I wrote in my journal today, like, it's good that people want to change, and that, I mean, our whole podcast is called Work for Change. Like, obviously, we think change is possible and good.
He said it.
But like, so what if someone finds that a new year is an opportunity for them to look back and to think, oh, like, I wasn't happy with the way that year went. Here's what I want to change to improve it. Like, so what if that's a time where a lot of people do that? It makes sense.
Yeah.
That is the time you do that. When you look back on an entire year that passed and you go, I wasn't happy with that, or I'm happy with that. Let me continue and grow on that. Like, so what if that's the time to do it? Like,
it's a good time to reflect.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are like insecure in themselves, like, oh, they made a resolution, they didn't do any of it. Well, no one really does it anyway. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's along the same lines. It's like a lot of people see people fail at resolutions, so it's like it's just the natural kind of reaction to them. And then I'm sure a lot of people have failed them themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like it's a negative mindset because they've probably had a negative experience, I would say, and so they failed their resolution, so they assume everyone else is going to fail theirs.
Mm-hmm.
But it is crazy. Like, some people do not fail, like I had
Sam started CrossFit on a New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
And I kind of started losing weight around the new year, and it was kind of like a resolution, but I didn't say it because that connotation that people have, that people feel about it. But then I even made a post, and a few people commented, and they said mine was a resolution to work out, and I've lost X amount of weight or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's just people having a negative experience themselves and then putting that on other people. I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
So I haven't really had a lot of experience with health at every size, whatever
Health
it
at
is.
every size.
But I feel like maybe there's a part of it there, like the rise of like, you shouldn't have to diet. How dare, like, and even the word diet has a negative connotation in certain circles. Like, but the whole, like, you should be happy as you are. You're perfect just the way you are. Like, where there's like, if you're like, it's okay to like yourself and realize that because you like yourself, there are habits that you probably shouldn't be doing. And if you want to have the most fulfilling life, like, maybe drop some of those habits and start some other ones. Like, those don't have to be in conflict with each other. Mm-hmm. Those can be completely congruent and be along the same path. And I think there's a rise of like this, if you want to change something about yourself, it means you don't like yourself. And that's just not true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that whole movement. There's actually, so you bringing that up brought up something. It kind of reminded me of something. So this was a post that someone sent to me. I'm not going to bring up who it is or whatever, but this is literally what the post says. So it's just a picture of text, right? And the text says, "You're debating that January diet. The promises of a new body and a better life are hard to pass up. But if you're honest with yourself, you know you've been here before. Last year, last month, a million times before. It didn't work then. It won't work this time either."
Ooh.
And it's like that mentality is getting... It seems like more people are kind of are holding on to that. And, you know, I understand the reason a lot of people feel that way is because the diets, like this is my whole thing. The diets they're trying to follow are too intense. You don't need to do all that, right? Like you're trying to go from 0, which is eating anything you want, to 100, which is doing keto or doing like these crazy restrictive diets. And it's just not necessary. So of course you're going to do it for a while and then you're going to fall off, right? Of course that's going to happen. And then I think because people have done it so many times, because they feel like that's the only way, it's like it has to be really, really hard. It has to be really, really hard to lose weight. It doesn't have to be that hard.
Yeah.
So I think that mentality is, it's getting more popular, but I think that it's getting more popular because... Well, obviously, because more people are kind of grasping onto it and it's being more talked about in like the mainstream. And so I think that it's like people, like we don't like the whole grind 100%, but like at the same time, like you should work hard, you know, like work hard, make yourself uncomfortable a little bit. Like there's nothing wrong with that. And it seems like now it's like, again, pendulum, right? It went from grind, because that was like a whole thing, right? 24/7, no days off, blah, 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 to like now it seems like don't do anything. And it's like, what does that post do? Like, how does that help? And I'm sure that the argument I always say is that there is obviously someone that resonates with, of course. But the people that are posting it, the way that they're saying things is like everyone needs to feel this way. And especially when it comes to food stuff and diet stuff, what I've realized is a lot of times certain posts are for people that maybe had eating disorders or maybe struggled with food in a certain way. And so maybe them tracking food in any capacity is very unhealthy and it's not good. But that doesn't mean that tracking food for every single person is now, like I've seen posts saying any sort of tracking is an eating disorder. I disagree. Can it become obsessive? Yes. Does that mean everyone is going to become obsessive? No. Right? So I think that mentality, I'm sure that's part of it, you know, with the health, because like, I mean, that person is kind of a health at every size person. And so it's like that mentality of working hard is equivalent to depriving yourself of joy is getting more popular. So now people are almost afraid to say like that they're working hard or that they're working at a goal, because people are gonna be like, you should be happy with where you are. It's like, of course I'm happy. Like I've always said, when I lost weight, I didn't hate myself, but I hated what the fat was doing to my body, right? What it was restricting me from. And there's a difference there. And I think it's a very big difference. And so if you hate yourself, obviously you're not going to change, because it's a lot of work to make that change. So if you hated yourself, you'd be like, screw it, I'm just going to eat myself to death, right? If you're talking about weight and stuff. And so it's kind of it really is frustrating to me, because that whole scene can get really just kind of weird and stressful. And so I think that it's important to, you know, I think working hard is a good thing. But again, it's like with everything, there comes... like there has to be balance and all that stuff. So it's like, you don't need to kill yourself to lose weight. Like that's obviously not a good thing. You shouldn't be doing insane diets, but at the same time, if you want to make that change and you want to work on yourself, you should be happy about that. And you shouldn't have like, if all your friends, like I've had many people that I've talked to that were in that scene of healthy at every size, that they were like, I need to start losing weight, because they were having issues, whatever it might be, right? They might have been developing diabetes. They might have been like getting aches and pains that they were like, this is a problem. So then they lose weight, and they literally are now being attacked by the same people that were so supportive of them. And so I know I'm kind of going off the rails, but I get like with this stuff. But yeah, I think that's part of it for sure.
I think people just, I think it comes from I'm sure there's a positive, like a good place where it's like no one thinks you're not less if you don't follow through on a resolution. Like you're not less. Like we are complicated people with a lot of different variables. We're not just like going on one path, change one thing that changes a path. Like we have a lot of variables at play. But I think it's more of just a defeatist mindset. Like I feel like it's more of just just like that one. Like you failed before, you're definitely going to fail again. Where it's like, I don't know, like maybe if you have the right support, maybe if you have the right, like what's the difference between like someone who on January 1st shows up at the gym without any idea, without any plan, without any workout written down, without anything. Like the chances of them staying versus the person who shows up and they go, I don't know, I have this like beginner's guide to the gym where it's like 3 workouts a week. The person who shows up and they have that, they're more likely to keep going. Like, or even if they don't, it's not even a beginner's guide, but it's just like, I want to go on the stairs for 30 minutes, whatever. Like
having a plan is so important.
Yeah.
When it comes to going to the gym, I think at least like
Yeah,
if you're going
it's
24-hour fitness or something like that, like having a plan.
It's not even the gym. It's like just in general in life, having a plan. You're going to, it's just directing your sail in a specific direction versus just allowing whatever to happen. If you've been at the beach, like, if you, like what you'll do is you'll go like, all right, my towel's right there. It's right next to Tower 13. And then you're swimming in the water. And then what happens? You go and you look at the thing and Tower 13 is like half a mile away because the tide just took you. So then what you have to do is you have to put in work, go against the tide, go back in, whatever, to get back to your home point. And so I think that a lot of the times what we do is we get lost in the tide. We're not thinking about it. We just go along with the rhythm of life. And then we have to look back and find Tower 13 and be like, oh crap, I'm really far away. And then put in the work to get back to where you want to be. I think it's just anything in life. That's what it is. And so to automatically have the mindset of, I failed before, I'm going to fail again. Yeah, you're right. You were 100% right. And I'm sorry, but you have fulfilled that for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like you grow in challenges. So I think you should challenge yourself. Like every single, like as an example, every single CrossFit competition I've ever done, I'm like, why am I putting myself through this? Yeah. And then after I feel like so like I succeeded so much. I challenged myself. I feel so good. That's just an example. So I think if you put a challenge in front of yourself, you're the one doing it. Maybe you do fail. Maybe you surprise yourself, and I think that's healthy to have those. Feel uncomfortable a little.
Mm. Yeah, I think that the analogy that you used with like the tide and stuff like that taking you, it really is it's a good one, especially for like getting into fitness and getting into health and like wellness and stuff. Because if for most people that are outside of the gym, that are outside of health, that are outside of like caring about their anything, right? They're just eating whatever. They're not going to the gym. They're not working out. Like for me, it became such a normal thing that you'd see people at the gym and you're like, how do they have the time? Or how do they even feel comfortable in there? And you feel like it's so far away because you've let that tide kind of pull you for so long. But all you have to do, like you were saying, is like you could swim against it or like just swim to the shore. You know what I mean? And then just like start walking. Like you don't need to sprint at the start, but like just kind of start that forward motion. And it's not like people, especially with social media, it's so easy to compare yourself. But you don't need to be the person that you're looking at, right? Like I always say, you don't need to do what I do because I understand that I have more time than most people. I understand that I work out more than most people. I get that. You don't need to do what I've done, but like, in the video that I released today, I talked about how like losing most of my weight at the beginning, like I didn't even go to the gym. Like you don't need to. You want to have this huge transformation right at the start, but it's like if you build that solid foundation and like you understand that nutrition is the most important thing with any of these goals that we have, and you understand that, then you can build on that solid foundation instead of like, I'm going to go to the gym and crush it, and then I don't really know what I'm going to eat, you know? And then for me, I would go to the gym and then get a California burrito afterwards. And I'd think, well, you know, it's not the best, but I mean, normally I would eat this and not go to the gym at all, so it must be better than nothing, which maybe it is, but it's like, to see the results I wanted to see, which was weight loss, I was doing it the complete wrong way.
Yeah.
The complete wrong way. So.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this conversation about resolutions and our thoughts about them, and how sometimes it's just simple finding a word and trying to stick to it. And that if you've been discouraged, maybe, you know, this is going to come out on the 8th,
No,
the 7th.
7th.
The day before Sam's birthday, like 1 week into the year, and you've already kind of failed your resolutions, like that's okay. Change. The nice thing about change is you can start at any time. Like, when was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the second best time? Right now. Like, you can start at any point. Sure, it would have been better a week ago, maybe, but you know what's even better? Like, you know what the next best thing is? Right now.
Yep.
And so, like, maybe you're at that point where you're kind of giving up, or you don't even have a resolution because you thought, well, what's the point? Like, we want to challenge you. Find a resolution, find a word, find something, and then make a plan. Make it super small, make it super simple. We've talked about the whole push-up theory on this podcast before. Like, don't say I want to do 100 push-ups a day. Say I want to do 1 push-up a day. And then you're already on the ground and you already did 1 push-up. You might as well do 2. You already did 2, you might as well do 3. Like, make your goals manageable, make them small, have big dreams with small goals, and then let us know. Let us know what your resolutions are. Feel free to leave in the comments. Feel free to leave it on the Instagram at Work for Change Podcast. And until next time, we'll see you next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace.